Susan Page is the Washington bureau chief of USA Today, and she joins us now on set. Good to see you, Susan.
Hey, it's great to be here.
All right, so we're in the home stretch, finally, of this campaign. There seems to be, though, an intensified focus on some of the down-ballot states. Hillary Clinton is spending money there. Surrogates are going there. What's the schedule telling you about the strategy?
I think that we have entered a new phase of this campaign. Both Democrats and Republicans, that is, Republicans who are not named Donald Trump, have concluded that Trump is going to lose. And the Democrats in particular are now focused on trying to make sure that the Senate flips to Democratic control and that they make as many gains as possible in the House, although I think Democrats are still not at all confident. In fact, think they probably won't win control of the House. But they can make things harder for the Republicans who continue to control the House if they can get their numbers down.
You know, you got to wonder, though, does Hillary Clinton run the risk of appearing a little too self-assured as she pivots in this direction? You
know, that's a risk, especially 15 days out. You know, that is a lifetime in politics. Things can happen. We've had WikiLeaks disclosures. Maybe there'll be more that are troubling for her. But at this point, this is the landscape that we see. And, you know, more than 5 million people have already voted by absentee ballot or early voting. So you start to get in a situation where I think the Clinton campaign can feel increasingly confident about the landscape favoring them.
Mm-hmm. And the president clearly intensifying his criticism of Donald Trump to just not encompass the candidate himself, but the entire Republican Party, essentially saying that this is the party Donald Trump just essentially slapped his name on it and took credit for it. Is that a winning strategy? Clearly, he's going out on a very high note, of very high favorable ratings. Is that a winning strategy for the Clinton camp?
You know, it's interesting the role that President Obama is playing, because he didn't do this much down-ballot stuff in his presidential races, but he's in a position to do it now with his popularity high, not running himself. Hillary Clinton looking like she's in pretty good shape. He's now done dozens of ads for down-ballot candidates who are running for the House. Somebody's running for a state judicial post, and that is an effort to use his popularity to really spread the wealth for Democrats. So yes, I think it's a sign of the strength for Democrats. You know, Democrats have a lot of surrogates who are very helpful. They've got Barack Obama, they've got Michelle Obama, they've got Joe Biden, and Donald Trump just doesn't have that on the Republican side.
Yeah. Well, in regards to the down-ballot candidates on the Republican side, I want to read you something that Mike Huckabee tweeted out, former Arkansas governor. He says, if GOP loses Senate, it's not because candidates ran with Donald Trump, but because they ran from him. No time for wimps and wusses. But a lot of these candidates are finding it very difficult to navigate their association with Donald Trump. Are many of them just sort of damned if they do, damned if they don't?
Hey, good, easy for Huckabee to say, who's not on the ballot in November.
Right.
It's been a terrible dilemma for Republican candidates, especially those in swing states. Those in safely red states, not such a problem. But if you're running for the Senate in Ohio, like Rob Portman, or if you're running for the Senate in Arizona, like John McCain, this has been a continuing problem for him. Mm-hmm. And we see that there's a kind of toxic nature to Donald Trump's candidacy in swing states with some voters that Democrats are now really hammering home. Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania, another Senate candidate, right, who should be in pretty good shape. He's maybe ahead a point or two. The polls have been pretty close. They are really going after him in a big way to try to elect the Democratic challenger, Katie McGinty.
Mm-hmm. Susan, let's turn to our new polling. There's a new CBS Battleground Tracker poll in Texas showing Hillary Clinton only 3 points behind Donald Trump. Now, this is a state that Mitt Romney won by about 15 points in 2012. The Real Clear Politics has it as a toss-up. Is Texas at all in play? What do you think?
And yet it's been 2 decades since a Democrat won any statewide contest in Texas. Now, in some ways, the state is changing. The demography of the state is changing some. But this is a real sign of the problems that Republicans are having. Because the reason it's suddenly so close is not only that people are supporting Hillary Clinton, but that Republicans are dropping out of the likely voter pool. Republicans who are discouraged about Trump, believe he's going to lose, maybe they don't like some of the things he said, are more likely to stay home. And that is a huge problem when you talk about down-ballot races.
I want to play you something that Kellyanne Conway, Trump's campaign manager, said over the weekend about the state of the campaign. Take a listen to this.
Where do you see this race right now? Do you acknowledge that you're behind?
We are behind. She has some advantages, like $66 million in ad buys just in the month of September, thereby doubling her ad buys from August. Most of those ads are negative against Donald Trump, classic politics of personal destruction, cesspool kind of ads. And she has tremendous advantages. She has a former president, that happens to be her husband, campaigning for her, the current president and first lady, vice president, all much more popular than she can hope to be. But she's seen as the incumbent. So our advantage going in, where we're behind 1, 3, 4 points in some of these swing states that Mitt Romney lost to President Obama, Chuck, our advantage is that Donald Trump is just going to continue to take the case directly to the people.
I think this is the first time you've heard a member of the campaign sort of clearly say, yeah, we're in trouble here. What do you make of these comments? Is this sort of a weird attempt to get out the vote for Donald Trump, to scare his supporters?
It's a hard situation, I think, to be in the Trump campaign now. You know, I'm sure they believe in their candidate. They hope he can win. On the other hand, Kellyanne Conway has been a pollster for a long time. She can look at these polls and see that the path for him to get to 270 electoral votes has been narrowed, and it's not clear it even exists anymore. Really, really tough for him to stage the kind of comeback. So I think it's hard. You know, and it's true that what she says, that Obama and Biden and Michelle are more popular than Hillary Clinton. On the other hand, Hillary Clinton's the one on the ballot who seems headed toward election, and an historic election. If she wins, the first woman in our history to win the presidency.
Yeah.
And to that end, I mean, WikiLeaks continues to release. It's like a drip, drip, drip. Every single day we get something, specifically emails that John Podesta has written. The Clinton campaign continues to just say they think that the Russians are trying to influence the election. Saturday Night Live mocked that when they had Kate McKinnon essentially pivoting from a question about WikiLeaks, which is, and then, you know, Tom Hanks saying, you're never going to answer a question about this. But clearly, can they continue to do that? I mean, people clearly are going to want some answers. They're going to want to know why these emails were written, what the strategy was behind the scenes. But if she doesn't answer, is that a risk for her?
I think it's a huge problem for her, because some of these emails do raise questions. Now, the good news for her is so far none of them have seem to outline crimes or things that were illegal. Mostly it's kind of the stuff.
It's just reinforcing what people already think about her.
That she's a politician.
Right.
If anything, it proves that she's a politician. But I do think it reinforces questions a lot of Americans have about, is she honest and trustworthy? Is she transparent? And does she have my interests at heart or somebody else's interests? And maybe the only way she can address those is by delivering if and when she's in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if she, you know, if something like, I recall when President Obama in 2007 delivered that speech on race after the Reverend Wright drip, drip, drip of that happened, and he delivered that speech on race, and that seemed to turn things around. I know it's a different subject, but could she do something like that?
You know, I don't think that would be kind of in her wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You don't see her doing that kind of thing. And also, at this point, they just don't want to do anything that disrupts the current trajectory of the campaign. So I would be surprised if they do anything that's very dramatic. I think they're going to be working on getting voters to the polls, especially early voters, absentee voters, and then voters on November 8th.
All right. Susan Page of USA Today, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.